and everybody else, I like that you give us thumbs up. I'm a baby in our next video. Goo goo gaga. Meh. Bye.
Says that if it bleeds, it leads. Okay, we're looking at some pictures here of Cathedral of Commerce. Now, while we're touching on the Cathedral of Commerce, right, the original building called the Cathedral of Commerce, when they finally admitted their satanic plan, right, the Woolworth, just go break that down for a moment, the Woolworth. In other words, what is the Woolworth, right? And you'll find here Cathedral of Commerce, and you can do a little more research into that. We're speaking about the department stores and speaking about this most recent story right here. This is just some incidental pictures of baby found dead in bag in Midtown store. Well, not actually. It was two young females, two young women, not ladies, unless this is what a lady has become. Two young women, Freudian slip right there. Two young women, right? Who were walking around a Midtown store. You remember the name of the store? Which store was it? It's probably in the article. Macy's. They were in Macy's in Herald Square, right? In Herald Square. He had security guard at Midtown. Victoria's Secret. That's Victoria's Secret, all right. Is the Victoria's Secret revealed, right? Child sacrifice. Of course, they will try to flag this because it's just too true, too real. But we live in a society, in this Babylonian society that is totally ADD, attention deficit disorder. I was just saying before I started recording, there's always these, have you seen this child or have you seen that child on the news? And it's always at the end of the news. You would think that they would lead off with that, but they have a saying in Babylonian journalism: if it bleeds, it leads. You know, if it's bloody, if it's horrible, if it's shocking, if it's outrageous, then it usually is the top story, right? Here it goes right here. You see, I think one of the police officers, NYPD right there, walking out with these kind of bags, investigative, crime scene bags right here. NYPD detectives carry an evidence bag containing the dead fetus. Now, the story reads, a suspected teen shoplifter was busted Thursday toting around a dead fetus in a plastic bag, in a shopping bag, while swiping lingerie. I mean, to think about sex at a time like that, right? Being sexy, right? At a Midtown Victoria's Secret, the cop said. The horrifying discovery at the Herald Square, right, Herald Square store occurred after a security guard spotted the 17-year-old girl, or Goyle, right, and a pal. The way they word this story, this is what the New York Daily News, right, and a pal snatching sexy underthings off the rack and called the police. Patrol officers responding to what appeared to be a routine property crime made the gruesome find as they corralled, interesting, they use that word corralled, like you corral wild bulls or wild animals, the two girls. One of them, Tiona Rodriguez, told police she suffered a miscarriage the day before. Rodriguez, you would think that she probably would go to the hospital or something like that, right? Obamacare, right? Everybody was signing up for the Obamacare. Does Obamacare have anything in there? Well, they probably use this to say that's why they need the Obamacare, right? Rodriguez, already the mother of a young son, was taken to Bellevue Hospital. And there you go right there, Victoria's Secret. Are we discovering? And look over here on the side, if you can see this over here on the side. This will be a sexy Kim Kardashian made a name for herself with her trademark va-va-voom curves. And the fact that she'll use any opportunity is crazy. And it's right there on the side right there, editor's picks. Right, but here's our main story right here, right? So the Herald Square Victoria's Secret, where a security guard discovered ostensible. Wow, they're really using some mighty fancy words. Ostensible human child remains in a suspected shoplifter's bag. I mean, suspected. Suspected. Oh, you're innocent. You're proven guilty. What about the dead fetus, the dead baby? Right? What about the dead child? One police source said she was at least 6.5 months pregnant when she went into labor, but another said Rodriguez was, quote, nearly full term. She said she didn't know what to do. You mean she didn't know to go to the hospital? I mean, they have hospitals. We're not like in the woods somewhere, right? Even then, you'll call for the midwife, right? Or the midwives, right? The midwifery department, right? But she didn't know what to do, the source said. The source? What kind of source is this? On Wednesday night, Rodriguez posted on her Facebook. She had time to post on her Facebook. I mean, you'd think that if she knew what to do, she would say, hey, I just had a baby and the baby just died. What do I do? You know, she could ask somebody about that. But no, Rodriguez, and this is not just Rodriguez, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of other ones with a lot of other different names. This is mental insanity. It says that all nations that forget God are turned into hell. And this is what we're seeing on a daily basis. Have you seen so-and-so? You know how many children go missing, right? Go missing. They said something like 2,200, right? 2,200. Well, that's a rough estimate. 2,200 at least children just go missing. And how many do we get to hear about? Baby Hope a couple of years ago. Oh, they finally found out who did it. They probably knew who did it. You understand? There's a lot of devil advocates in this particular this particular Babylonian system, right? Rodriguez posted on her Facebook, she was complaining, these cramps, comma, and then capital S-O-N, son. These cramps, son. I guess you got to go figure whatever that means. Makes me wonder, that woman right there, for her back to the camera, what does she got in the bag? What you got in the bag? She also noted that she was excited about a job interview she had Wednesday at Chipotle, don't really know it. Y'all probably know it. Probably your favorite place right there. All right. So you see this, and you can go on a little bit more. Is this her? Wow, she got the bone in her nose. She got the bone in her nose. They didn't show the picture on the local news here in the New York area, right? So she didn't know what to do, right? So first thing she did was walk around the store with, she could have left at home or something like that, right? Or she could have, you know, I don't want to give no suggestions to anybody, but, you know, once know they could have disposed it. But she's going and shopping. What about the job interview? Does she need to go pick up something for the job interview right here? So Tiona Rodriguez from her Facebook, she is the one who had the baby in a bag at a man-hating Victoria's Secret. Manhattan Victoria's Secret. And notice what a neighbor says right here. And this is from the Bed-Stuy. This is actually from the neighborhood that I grew up in, the Marcy Projects. Not the Marcy Project, a couple blocks away. What they call the Roosevelt Projects. But that's a whole other story right there. They said, she's a good girl. I can't believe, the unbelievers, Kahati, right? I can't believe she would do that. They probably said, I can't believe she would do that. Said Zammy Ford, 17, a neighbor of Rodriguez in Bedford-Stuyvesant. Who the hell would do that? Question. Sickening. She just said that she's a good girl. She's a good girl. You understand? I can't believe she would do that. Who the hell would do that? Zami is also 17. Just to note that right there. People don't understand what's going on. People don't understand what's going on. They don't get it yet. Ford said she didn't even realize Rodriguez was pregnant. She said Rodriguez lives with her mother and son, who is about 2 years old. She goes to school. She does what she has to do. She's no problem, Ford said. ADD Society. We grew up together. You got to keep an eye on the Zammy one. I've known her since she was little. She was probably nervous and didn't know what to do. So you go out shopping for lingerie. She would never hurt anyone. Well, the question is, she wouldn't even help herself and go to the hospital, right, and report it, right, and report the incident. Why not? What's up? Tiona Rodriguez Facebook posted about cramps. Now they talk about autopsy is going to be performed to see whether the baby was born alive. You know, these kind of words they use, born alive, because they don't consider that it's living in the womb, because if they do, then that would be murder, abortion, right? So the society that's promoting having more abortions, more abortions to Molech. And now this really ties it all together, the fact that the department stores are basically cathedrals of commerce, especially these kind of ones that are up there in the city, and these kind of big department stores. That's why I showed you the cathedral of commerce right there, because you're going to a temple. That's really a temple, and the baby in the bag is almost like, in spirit, is like a sacrifice. And I really think that most of these folks don't know what they're doing. On a certain level, they don't know what they're doing. They're in a devil-possessed society, right? Things on a slippery slope are going down fast. And we're seeing the warnings all around us day to day, and everybody throws up their hand like an unbeliever. I can't believe it. You don't have to believe it. It's not a religion. You see what I'm saying? Unless it is a religion. You see, it's not about belief. You understand? I'm surprised. I'm shocked. But I can't believe it. They're just saying what other people have said. The drama unfolded just after 1 p.m. in the middle of one of the city's busiest shopping districts. You see, what would people sacrifice, right? What would they sacrifice, right? Victoria's Secret security guard confronted Rodriguez and her friend, also 17, after he suspected them of stealing. He took them into the back room and he called for the police. And this is Tiona Rodriguez right here. You look at a picture and say, well, she looks like a attractive young lady and everything. You can't see anything wrong. But what it is that people are judging by appearance. And there's no idea of righteousness. Righteousness is being exiled from this land. She said she didn't know what to do. She said she didn't know what to do. Another shot of Victoria's Secret right here, right? A house of prostitution, basically. Look, Victoria's Secret, be sexy, right? So they know how to get pregnant. Right? They know what to do and have a desire to get pregnant, but don't have a desire to report, right? To report this to the so-called authorities. They'll probably give her a slap on the wrist. Horrifying discovery at Herald Square store. Body of baby found in teen's bag at Victoria's Secret store in Herald Square. But let's ask the question again. What is, right, notice this woman here, this lady taunted police on Facebook. Now she's sentenced to 21, probably 21 years. This one right here holding up the money. You would think that people would have more sense. They know some things, but some other things they don't really seem to know. Right? And somebody said, Law and Order SVU episode in the making. Some girls have no sense. Birth control people, even a condom would have prevented this problem. Wait. Okay. You mean prevent her getting pregnant, right? Somebody said, quiet, Martha, you'll upset the pro-life zealots. Right? What kind of monster is this ghetto trash? Now, this is Ass Man. Ass Man says, what kind of monster is this ghetto trash? Ass Man said that. Who does something like this, like that, then goes out shoplifting lingerie the next day? Absolutely no conscience. Completely subhuman. Well, you know, my Jewish friends would be highly offended by this comment, ghetto, right? Your user's name is Assman. You're calling someone else out for being ghetto trash. Pot, meat, kettle, right? This is so damn sad, and everybody's opining on it. But the real connection is with this right here. Molech and child sacrifice. There we go right there. Molech and child sacrifice, right? Molech and child sacrifice. These are just some of the warning signs, right, that Babylon, right? Babylon is fallen, is fallen. These are some of the warning signs right up there in one's face. You know, this child sacrifice going on, right? And this is something from ancient times, right? This is something from ancient times. I know some folks might try to say, well, y'all talk about the Bible. What about Abraham? You see, they don't have no sense. The girl, after this whole thing happened, she didn't have the sensibility to even go to the hospital and just get herself checked out. You know what I mean? Unless some people say there was foul play, and no doubt there was foul play, right? Because there was foul play that they were playing, running around in the department store. You understand? To even bring that and feel comfortable enough. This is the key, right? Feel comfortable enough. Right? I'm sure this is not the first time this happened in a department in a cathedral of commerce. Right? This is not the first time something like this happened. Perhaps it was a security guard who wasn't up on what really goes on in these cathedrals of commerce that basically let the proverbial cat out the bag. Right? This could not be the first time that this happened. And I'm sure that she'll probably, they'll probably find some way of basically keeping the store out of it. But the store has, not that store in particular. You understand? What we're talking about is temples, sacrifices, right? Sacrifices to demonic entities. And one sign of demonic possession is that the little simplest things, right? She knew to go out and to go shopping for some stuff. She wanted to be sexy, like this girl right here, Molech, right? Rephaim, star, God, Saturn, or Molech, right? She knew enough to go out and get some Victoria's Secret to be sexy, but she didn't even know how to dispose of a fetus. Or perhaps she was disposing of the fetus, right? It was just that maybe a guard who was not quite initiated, they passed their sons and their daughters, they sacrificed to the idols of Canaan. Now, Canaan and the Canaanite connection is interesting too. Why do I say that? Because the Canaanite connection, if you look at the word Canaanite, it says, no longer will there be a Canaanite in the house of the Lord. Now, why is that significant? The Canaanite and the house of the Lord. If you look at a commentary on Canaanite, I think it's in either Zephaniah or Zechariah's, right, prophecy. If you look at Canaanite, the meaning there in the prophetic, and get this, the meaning there for Canaanite is a merchant, right? A merchant. So you see how that connects now? Temple of commerce, right? These temples of commerce look something like this, right? You see this right here, this Molech, right? Child sacrifices, right? And what I didn't hear was any sympathy for the child, any concern about the child. Right? Everybody said, well, she could use condoms, she could use birth control. But what about reporting it? What about her, what about her going to the hospital to even get herself checked out? Right? There's still grace for sinners, right? But the time of grace, right, the period of grace is rapidly, right, is rapidly closing. Right, we're coming into the judgment, and this is even connected with the Nibiru cataclysm, the day of the Lord, the great white throne, because of the murders. People are not repenting of these murders, right? Of these murders, human sacrifice, right? Human sacrifice in modern times, human sacrifice in the temple of commerce. Right, human sacrifice. That's what this whole story really is about. I think this is from that movie Metropolis. And see, in the culture, right, in the popular culture, in the movies, they're talking about this in the movies. This is happening in society, right? Whether children are going missing, right? Whether it's trafficking in children, whether it's sacrificing children, there's a whole lot of unaccounted for blood, right? Because those children, for those who say, well, somebody else needs to abort, you should have been aborted. You understand? Then we would not even have to have this sort of a discussion, right? There's no wealth, right, from child sacrifice. But many have been lied to, have been deceived, have been made to believe that if they sacrifice, right, their own flesh, if they eat their own flesh. Look at this book right here. This book is going into, just to show some folks that this is nothing new. And we're going to see this, unfortunately, more and more. See this connection right here? Right? You're going to see it more and more as time goes along. Repent, right? Turn to Jah. Turn to Jah. Receive Christ in his kingly character. Receive Yeshua, Jesus Christos, before it's too late. You understand? The judgment is not going to be nice. It's not going to be pretty. And actually, there's no reason why it should be. And the Almighty has been exceedingly merciful, right? And there's even mercy and grace, even for such a one as this 17-year-old and others like her. But there's too few people that want to even confront it, even talk about it. Instead, they're going to sound like some bleeding heart pseudo-liberals, right? Anyway, enough on that for right now. Right, may Jah have mercy on the soul of the child, on the soul of that child. Who knows what that child could have been, right? And they talk about woman's liberation. It's a war, right? Eve is being deceived at a rapid rate, right? And Eve being a template for femininity, right? And you see it all here. You see it all here, right here. See this connection, Moloch, right? The devil, right? And the false idols, right? The so-called celebrities and stars that are promoting this religion. It's a religion, right? And she was no doubt practicing, whether conscious or not, she was practicing. She and others who have been deceived are practicing a religious form of worship in the Cathedral of Commerce, right? Otherwise known as, these Victoria's Secrets, right? Shalom, Rastafari. More to come, Yah willing.